The scream echoes across the water for 1,000 years. Lindisfarne, the 8th of June, 793. A monastery on a grey English morning. Monks at prayer. Mist rolling off the North Sea. Silence. And then the ships, dragon-headed, low in the water, cutting through the fog like knives. Within hours, the monastery is ash. The monks are dead or gone. And Europe wakes to a nightmare it doesn't yet understand. But this is not where the story begins. To understand the scream, you must understand the silence that came before it. The frozen north, the endless winters, the hunger, the ships that could sail to the edge of the world and beyond. You must understand a people who worshipped different gods, who lived by different laws, who saw the horizon not as a boundary, but as an invitation. Because what happened at Lindisfarne was not the beginning of the Viking Age. It was the announcement. The Northmen had been preparing for generations, building their ships, honing their skills, watching the rich lands to the south and wondering, why not us? And when they finally came, they came not as conquerors with banners and declarations. They came like the tide, inevitable, unstoppable, everywhere at once. This is their story. Not the myths, not the legends, the truth. How a people from the frozen edge of nowhere touched 3 continents, discovered a new world 5 centuries before Columbus, and carved their names so deep into history that we still feel the blade. The Vikings, the age of the Northmen. It begins with a scream, but it ends with the world, forever changed. The world of the 8th century is a world of empires. In the south, Charlemagne's Frankish kingdom stretches across Western Europe, its monasteries glittering with gold, its scholars preserving the last remnants of Roman knowledge. The Christian church holds dominion over souls from Ireland to Constantinople. Trade routes snake across the Mediterranean, carrying silk and spices, connecting distant peoples in a web of commerce and faith. But in the far north, beyond the reach of Rome's fading shadow, beyond the prayers of Christian monks, another world exists entirely. Scandinavia, a realm of endless forests and jagged fjords, of mountains that pierce the clouds and winters that devour the sun. Here, scattered communities cling to the coastlines of what will one day be called Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Here, the old gods still hold sway. Odin, the All-Father; Thor, god of thunder; Freya, goddess of war and beauty. The people here do not live, they survive. The land is harsh, unforgiving. The growing season is short, the soil thin and rocky. Farmland is scarce, fought over, treasured like gold itself. Each spring brings hope, each winter brings death. Families huddle in longhouses, smoke curling from roof holes, fires crackling against the howling wind outside. But these people are not weak. They are forged by hardship, tempered by the cold. From childhood, boys learn to handle an axe, to fish in freezing waters, to navigate by the stars. Girls weave and cook and manage households, but also inherit land, own property, and demand respect. This is not a society of pampered nobility. Everyone works, everyone fights. Everyone knows that survival depends on strength, cunning, and the favor of the gods. And they are sailors, masters of the sea. Their ships are not mere vessels. They are works of art, sleek, fast, built from oak and ash, with overlapping planks sealed with tar and animal hair, dragon heads carved into the prows, fierce and proud. These ships can cross oceans, but they can also glide up shallow rivers, their shallow drafts allowing them to strike deep inland, where no one expects them. For generations, they have used these ships to trade along their own coasts, to fish, to move between settlements. But the population is growing. The farmland cannot support everyone. Young men with no inheritance look to the horizon with hungry eyes. And then, one day, perhaps by accident, perhaps by design, someone sails further than before, further south, and discovers that the world beyond the north is rich beyond imagining. The year is 793. On the northeastern coast of England, on a small tidal island, sits the monastery of Lindisfarne. It is a place of peace, of prayer. Monks in simple robes tend gardens, copy manuscripts in dim scriptoriums, sing hymns that echo across the windswept shore. The monastery receives wealthy donations from nobles, treasures of gold and silver, jeweled crosses, and illuminated gospels. But it is undefended. Why would it need walls? Who would dare attack a house of God? It is the 8th of June. Morning. The sea is calm, the sky grey. Then, from the mist, they come. Ships, low and fast, dragon heads breaking through the fog like creatures from a nightmare. The monks hear them first. The splash of oars, the creak of timber, voices calling in a tongue they do not understand. By the time they see them, it is too late. The Northmen pour onto the beach, axes in hand, round shields painted with bold colors. Their hair is long, some braided, some wild. They wear leather and furs, iron helmets glinting dully. They move with terrible purpose. The monks try to flee. Some fall to their knees, praying, believing that surely God will protect his servants. But the axes do not distinguish between armed and unarmed, between soldier and priest. The screams echo across the island. Within hours, it is over. The monastery is gutted, treasures loaded onto the ships. Some monks are killed, others are taken, bound, to be sold as slaves in distant markets. The stone church stands empty, its doors smashed, its altar desecrated. And then, as swiftly as they came, the Northmen vanished back into the mist. News of the attack spreads like wildfire across England, across Europe. Alcuin of York, one of the great scholars of the age, writes in horror, "Never before has such terror appeared in Britain as we have now suffered from a pagan race. The Christian world reels. How could this happen? How could barbarians from the frozen north strike so boldly at the very heart of Christendom? But this is not an isolated incident. This is the beginning. Over the next decades, the raids intensified. The pattern repeats across Europe. Ireland falls silent under the shadow of dragon ships. Scottish monasteries burn. The Frankish coast bleeds. Wherever there is wealth and weak defenses, the Northmen come. They learn quickly. The Vikings. Their name comes from the Old Norse vikinga, meaning pirate or raider. They study the coastlines, the river systems, the patterns of defense. They discover that churches and monasteries are treasure houses, unguarded, ripe for plunder. They come in summer, when the seas are calm and the days are long. They strike at dawn or dusk, when sentries are tired. They move faster than any army can respond, loading their ships and disappearing before reinforcements arrive. But they are not mindless berserkers. They are tacticians. When they encounter resistance, they adapt. They begin to overwinter in captured territories, building fortified camps. They form alliances with local rulers, playing politics, exploiting divisions, and they begin to settle. In the 850s, a great army arrived in England. This is not a raiding party. This is an invasion force, thousands of warriors. Entire fleets. They did not come to plunder and leave. They came to conquer. They sweep across the land. Northumbria falls. East Anglia is crushed. Mercia is carved apart. Kingdom after kingdom collapses before the fury of the north. Only Wessex, under a young king named Alfred, holds firm. Barely. The wars are brutal. Villages burn. Fields lie fallow. But the Vikings also bring change. The territories they control become known as the Danelaw. Here, they establish laws, towns, trade networks. York becomes Jorvik, a thriving Viking city. Norse words seep into the English language. Norse customs blend with Saxon traditions. They are not just destroyers, they are builders of a new world. But England is only the beginning. To the west, Vikings discover Ireland. The land of saints and scholars becomes a land of fire and blood. Dublin, Waterford, Limerick. These cities were founded by Viking settlers, becoming centers of trade and power. Irish kings fight the invaders, sometimes ally with them, sometimes marry into their families. The lines between Viking and Gael begin to blur. To the east, Swedish Vikings. The Rus push deep into the heartland of what is now Russia. They navigate the great rivers, the Volga and the Dnieper, establishing trading posts that grow into cities, Novgorod, Kiev. They trade with the Byzantine Empire, with the Islamic Caliphate, bringing northern furs and amber south, returning with silks and silver. They become princes, ruling over Slavic peoples, founding dynasties. To the south, they raid the coasts of France so relentlessly that the Frankish king, Charles the Simple, offers them land in Normandy, the land of the Northmen, if they will only stop attacking. The Viking leader, Rollo, accepts. Within generations, his descendants will speak French, adopt Christianity, become dukes. And one of them, William, will conquer England in 1066, changing British history forever. But the greatest journeys are yet to come. The Atlantic Ocean stretches endlessly to the west. Cold, dark, uncharted. To sail into it is to sail beyond the known world, into waters where monsters might lurk, where the very edge of existence might lie waiting. But the Vikings do not flinch. In the 870s, Norwegian Vikings reached Iceland, a land of fire and ice. Volcanoes erupt beneath glaciers, geysers scream into frozen air. It is virgin territory, untouched, and they claim it. They carve farms from narrow coastal valleys. They establish the Althing, one of the world's first parliaments, where free men gather beneath the open sky to make laws and settle disputes. Iceland becomes a refuge, a new homeland for those who will not bend the knee. But even here, in this land at the edge of the world, some cannot stay still. A man named Eric the Red, exiled for murder, too dangerous even for Iceland, sails further west. In 982, he discovered a vast land shrouded in glaciers and crowned with mountains. To lure settlers, he gives it a name of hope: Greenland. Colonies take root on those brutal shores. For centuries, Vikings will hunt walrus and seal, trade ivory back to Europe, survive where survival seems impossible. And then, around the year 1000, Eric's son Leif Erikson hears whispers, stories from sailors blown off course, tales of land, even further west. He does not hesitate. He assembles a crew, provisions his ship, and sails into the void. The ocean becomes their world. No land, no birds, no clouds, only water, stretching in every direction, swallowing the horizon. The crew grows silent. Even the bravest among them begins to wonder, what if the stories were false? What if there is nothing out here but death. Leif does not waver. He watches the stars. He feels the currents. He trusts the signs only a sailor can read. And then, one grey morning, the lookout sees it. Land. The shout tears through the ship like lightning. Men rush to the rail, pointing, disbelieving. After weeks of nothing, there is something. The impossible made real. They land on a barren, rocky shore. Labrador, though they do not know that name. It is cold here, lifeless. Not the paradise from the stories. But Leif is not finished. He orders the ship south. And then, around a headland, they see it. Forests endless and green, stretching into a continent they cannot begin to fathom. Meadows thick with grass, rivers alive with fish. The air is warm, the earth soft. A land that could sustain 1,000 settlements, untouched by axe or plow. They call it Vinland, the land of vines, the land of plenty. They have found the new world. 5 centuries before Columbus will take credit for it. They build homes and explore. For a season, perhaps 2, they believe paradise lies at the edge of the world. But this land has people. The Skraelings, the Vikings call them. The indigenous peoples who have lived here for thousands of years. At first, curiosity. Tentative trade. But words neither side comprehends lead to gestures misread. Suspicion hardens into hostility. Violence erupts. The Skraelings are many, organized and unafraid. The Vikings are brave, but few, far from any hope of reinforcement. They are outnumbered, outmatched. They cannot win. Slowly, reluctantly, they abandon Vinland. They leave their houses to the forest, load their ships, and sail back toward Greenland, back toward the world they know. But they carry something with them that can never be taken away. Proof that the world is larger than anyone dreamed. That courage and skill can carry you to places that do not yet have names. The settlement fails, but the voyage succeeds. They have crossed the Atlantic, touched 3 continents, and gone further than any European before them. And 500 years later, when others finally follow, the North will remember, we were there first. But nothing gold can stay, and nothing forged in fire lasts forever. By the turn of the 11th century, the world the Vikings once dominated is learning to resist. Castles rise along the coasts. Armies train year-round, no longer seasonal levies, but professional soldiers. The kingdoms that once cowered now stand ready. The age of the raid is ending. For a moment it seems the Northmen might still triumph. King Canute of Denmark seizes England, unites it with Denmark and Norway, and rules a North Sea empire from his throne. The Viking dream, dominion over the known world, seems within reach, but Canute is mortal. And when he dies in 1035, so does his empire. His sons cannot hold what he built. The kingdoms fracture, the dream collapses. 31 years later, in 1066, Vikings invaded England one last time, but they are not called Vikings anymore. They are Normans, descendants of Rollo, who settled in France a century before. They speak French. They fight as knights. They carry the banner of Christendom. When William the Conqueror takes the English throne, it is both a Viking victory and a Viking death. The bloodline endures, but the culture is gone. In Scandinavia itself, the old world is dying. Christianity spreads like winter frost, silent and unstoppable. Kings adopt the new faith, seeing in it the tools of centralized power, written law, organized clergy, the promise of divine right. The old gods are declared false. Temples to Odin and Thor are dismantled, their sacred groves cut down, their stones repurposed for church walls. The last runestones are carved, the last sagas sung in the old way. The language begins to shift, warped by Latin and the politics of Christian courts. The warriors put down their axes. The raiders become farmers. and merchants. The berserkers, those legendary madmen who fought in trance-like fury, fade into legend, then myth, then cautionary tales told to children. By the year 1100, the Viking Age is over. The dragon ships lie rotting on distant beaches, their carved heads staring sightlessly at horizons they will never cross again. The longhouses fall into ruin. The songs are still sung, but fewer people remember what they mean. The North is still there. The people endure, but the Vikings, the raiders, the explorers, the ones who sailed beyond the world's edge, are gone. But what they left behind can never be erased. The Northmen reshaped the map of Europe. Dublin, York, Novgorod, Kiev, Normandy, cities that still stand today, built by Vikings. Languages, English, French, Russian, all carry the mark of Norse contact. Trade routes they pioneered still connect continents, and they discovered a new world 500 years before history gave the credit to someone else. But the legacy runs deeper than cities and trade routes. They were not destined for greatness. They were farmers and fishermen from a forgotten corner of the world. They became legends because they looked at the horizon and refused to see a boundary. In the frozen north, in those dark winters where the sun barely rises, a people forged themselves into something more than they were born to be. They sailed into the mist and emerged into history. And the world has never been the same. The age of the Vikings has passed, but their spirit endures, not in museums or romanticized tales, but in every soul who hears the call of the unknown and refuses to look away. The dragon ships no longer sail, but the North remembers, and the echoes of their oars still beat across the waves of time.